Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Guns Explained. I'm your host, Cameron Porter. In this episode, we're going to be talking about a very basic question. What are the different types of firearms that exist out there? To help us answer that question, we are lucky enough to be able to sit down with Stuart Wallin, the owner of Get Some Guns and Ammo here in Utah. Get Some has 4 different locations in Utah, and they're doing bang-up business. So we were going to talk to him. He is definitely an expert in what we're about to talk about. So let's go to Stuart. All right, here we are at Get Some Guns and Ammo in Murray, Utah. Get Some is known for their indoor ranges as well as their sport rifle and assault rifle style weaponry that they specialize in. So we were lucky enough to have a chance to talk with Stuart Wallin, the owner of Get Some Guns and Ammo, and he's going to answer some of these questions that we have for us. Thanks for being here, Stu. So to someone who doesn't really know anything about firearms, what are the different types out there?
Well, there's 2 main types. There's long guns or rifles, and then handguns. And each of those categories can be broken down into several different components. Like handguns can be broken into semi-autos and revolvers. Long guns can be broken down into semi-autos, lever action, you have shotguns, you have bolt action. So each of those go into each category, and then you can go down from, some of those can even be broken down even further.
Gotcha. So what's the main difference between, say, a shotgun and a rifle?
Well, a shotgun is the type of ammo or projectile it's firing, is the main difference. They both have the same features, mainly it's just what they're shooting.
So to someone who knows very little about them, how would you explain the most important differences between them? I mean, you kind of just touched on it.
Well, they'll each have their own application. I mean, obviously, handguns are more set up for a defensive situation, a lot of target practice, but also rifles can be a lot of target practice and some, occasion for self-defense. But usually rifles are a hunting style, designed for someone that's going to do some hunting, those types of things.
Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So, and this is a question that may be a little bit difficult to articulate, but when you're shooting these different firearms, what are the different challenges that come with shooting them?
As a dealer, my perspective on that would be how educated is the person I'm dealing with? What are their level or experience with the firearm? That changes my reality of what they should be able to handle, what they should be shooting, where I would start with them. There's some people out there that have very small hands, and sometimes holding certain style of handguns are very difficult for them. I got people that have large hands. They have even, some guns just aren't going to fit very well in their hands. We have different arm strength, hand strength. All that can be played into what kind of handgun I can adapt to a shooter.
Gotcha. So when we watch a Hollywood movie and we see the hero just picking up random firearms and being able to shoot with pinpoint accuracy, that may not be possible. Is that what you're saying?
That's Hollywood.
That's Hollywood.
No, there are some very good shooters out there. Don't get me wrong with that. But I'm just saying, for the everyday person, yes, shooting is a skill. It takes time, just like learning any sport, learning to play golf, tennis, any of that. It takes time to build the skill and the ability to do that.
That makes perfect sense. Are there more specific levels of classification than just, handgun and rifle?
Yes. Well, each of those, we have 3 main things that we focus on. We focus on handguns, rifles, and NFA items. And NFA items are machine guns, silencers, short-barreled rifles, and then there's another category called any other weapons, AOW. And that's just things that don't fall under the other categories that the ATF has categorized as an NFA item. And the NFA stands for National Firearms Act, which has been in place for over 80 years. And, there's been several presidents that have changed it. In 1934 is when it was the main makeup of the act. And then in 1968 it was rewritten, and then it was rewritten in 1986 by Ronald Reagan.
Wow. So when you say machine gun, to someone who doesn't know much about guns, that sounds kind of terrifying. What is a machine gun, and how does that classification work?
The difference between a machine gun and a semi-auto is a machine gun has one pole, and it will fire several rounds until the shooter releases the trigger, or how the system's set up. Semi-auto, for one round, the trigger has to be pulled each time.
So a machine gun is actually just another term for fully automatic.
Correct.
Okay, we actually talked about that in our last episode, the differences between those things.
Okay.
So that's really interesting. Well, should we take some time and maybe demonstrate the differences between the different types of
Let's do it.
firearms? All right, great. Let's do it.
We're here at the firing range at Get Some Guns in Murray. We're going to demonstrate the types of guns we were just explaining to you. Back on this table, we've got a Ruger revolver. We have a semi-automatic handgun. On this table, right here, we've got a 12-gauge shotgun. You can find this one at pretty much any store, any sports store. We have an FN saw. This one is not available to buy. And then we have a submachine gun here, which is slightly different from an assault rifle, but we can explain that later as we shoot. So we're here. Stu is going to help us demonstrate these weapons.
All right, we talked about two different styles of handguns. We have a revolver, which is generally run by a cylinder. We have a semi-auto, which is typically run by a magazine. They both have pros and cons. Pros of a revolver is it's very idiot-proof. Mainly, to get it to fire, all I have to do is pull the trigger. That's all it takes. Cons, low capacity, generally 5 to 8 rounds. And reloading can be kind of a slow, tedious task. Semi-auto, advantage, quick loading, quick unloading, or reloading. And then you also have consistent fire back and forth. Capacity on this you can get up to, in 9mm, you can get up to 25 rounds in a handgun. There's some that even go higher than that, believe it or not. Disadvantages, you have functionality. You need the gun to run it. If you have a bad round, you're going to have to know how, some education and some proficiency to run that firearm correctly in those situations. All right, Nate, before we do any shooting, we've got to talk about a few things.
Okay.
Safety is your biggest priority, okay? Ours too. All right, there's 3 main rules. First of all, we want to treat every firearm as if it was loaded. The second rule is we want to keep it unloaded until we're ready to use it. The third rule is we never want to engage the trigger until we're ready to fire. We never want to put our finger on that trigger until we've actually put our sights on our target, and then we will engage the trigger.
Okay.
By following that, there would never be any accidents. True story. All right, simple of loading a revolver here. You have your cylinder. We're going to take and just drop the rounds into the cylinder.
Okay.
Okay? Now, how I talked about earlier about that these handguns can be dropped into several categories. This is a double action revolver. Some are only single action, but those are we can get real technical here. But then when we're ready to shoot, let's put on our ears. We'll have Nate fire that. You just need to close that up and it's ready to go.
All right.
Push it in all the way. There you go.
Put my fingers off the trigger. It's in a safe direction.
Yep. Now on this one here, the magazine just goes in here. We want to make sure it's locked all the way in position. Then you have a slide release here, or you can just grab the back and let her fly.
Okay.
Okay? So go ahead and push that magazine in.
Okay. This goes all the way in and clicks.
Yep. All right, this is your pretty typical shotgun here. This is a Remington 870, and this is a pump, pretty popular. There also can be semi-autos and magazine fed. So, loading a pump shotgun, this uses a tube, tubular fed, and so the rounds are all fed into this the slot down there into the tube. And you can actually see as the firearm's pumped, it pops one of them up in there and then loads it into the chamber.
I'm going to aim at the upper right gray circle just to show you.
No, let's have you shoot down in the groin area, please.
Oh, well, okay.
You see what those are the target. Then you just pump it, next round. A little bit of a kick, huh?
I love it. I love it so much.
All right, we talked a little bit about machine guns earlier, and this is a kind of a pretty typical. This we're referring to as more of a submachine gun, and sub just going to mean more of it's a handgun caliber. So this shoots as a 9mm. So this is a MP5, very popular along with SWAT teams. Probably a lot of ops teams use it too in the military. So, Nate?
Yes.
Pretty simple here. We got it on safe now. That goes semi, so you could shoot one at a time, and that's full auto.
Okay. Oh boy. Okay.
All right, some of the main differences between machine guns are mag-fed, belt-fed. SAW stands for Squad Assault Weapon. This can actually take an M16 mag, be put right in this port and run and function just fine. So this one's kind of your guy, you need some cover fire, you need to run to a position. He's gonna hold the bad guys down while you move guys around. So this is actually a pretty accurate gun. So that just locks into place there. Top strap down. On this, there is no semi-auto. It's either safe or let's do it. No. Yeah, I thought that was hot, so.
He's hot.
Do it. Let her go.
Alrighty.
Let her rip, dude. All right, that was awesome. So special thanks to Stuart Wallin with Get Some Guns and Ammo. Also want to throw a shout out to Robin Hood Studios for sponsoring this episode. Robin Hood Studios does corporate videography, video production, and even creates original content just like Guns Explained. Tune in next week because we will be covering even more about guns and we'll be talking specifically about different types of rifles. So go ahead and click on that subscribe button down there and give us a like and a comment and let us know what you think. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.